Calling to order the Building and Grounds Committee meeting for Wednesday, October 19th, 2022. And for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands,
one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'm just going to start, and then Dr. Short, whoever, Mr. Ritter, we've talked about it. We will be having an empty school at Mosside Middle once the renovations at Gateway Middle will be completed. So we have looking at some possibilities of what the building could be used for. And Mr. Ritter and I had talked, Dr. Short and I had talked prior, before this even came up, about possibly moving Sunrise School, which right now is on our drive in University Park, possibly moving that school over here to house the program. Sunrise is a school for emotional support, disabilities, and I was looking at possibly the first floor to be dedicated to Sunrise. So, Dr. Short, if you want to take a lead on this.
Thank you, Mrs. Warning. We've had many issues with the building itself over at Sunrise. And this has been discussed not only with this current board, but previous boards as well. Bob Brown and I have made some visits over there, inspected the roof. Bob went on the roof.
On the roof and through the building.
Yes, I actually called 3 different entities that were responsible for the installation of the roof, BASF, and we were trying to negotiate some form of settlement that would really help and restore the integrity of the roof at Sunrise. And not only during that time was the roof an issue, as we walked the halls, and I know Mrs. Warning was over there, and there were certain areas that had buckets and certain areas of the buildings that were kind of closed off. It was also discovered through an assessment that there was probably $8-9 million worth of renovations that needed to happen to the building itself. The building is nearing 60 years of age. It sits up behind Levin Furniture. It's a property here in Monroeville. There are 8 or 9 sending school districts. Since then, 2 districts have pulled out and could be litigation or will be litigation forthcoming because they recognize that the needs of the building will eventually probably lead to some form of bond, which will then increase the cost of supporting their students in that environment. So a number of the superintendents have reached out, communicated to me and Mrs. Warning and the AIU, who essentially operates Sunrise. And I know Micah is, Val, do you want to hit one of the lights so we could have a better look at the actual building itself?
Sunrise?
This is Sunrise here. And it was assessed, and I don't know, Val, do you have that information?
Find it.
2 million, 2.5 million?
2.5, but then they just did the reassessment and it's down to $1 million.
It's down to, I said, okay. So, again, the needs of the building and the potential for the cost of repairs have caused many school districts in this consortium to begin looking at, okay, are there other options either for repairing the building or potentially utilizing a building within another school district? I know a few years ago, Val, we had looked at Allegheny Valley, had a potential building that they wanted to utilize. That kind of fell through. I was talking to the Riverview superintendent. He doesn't at this point have one, perhaps in the future, but again, in the future we could put in this off. And then of course we recognize that in another 8, 9, 10 months, we're going to have this building as an option unoccupied. So again, we're in the infant stage of perhaps reviewing with our school board, our community, our constituents, the option of bringing Sunrise here to our campus, utilizing this building as one potential option. I've included on the second page, this is a correspondence that Mrs. Warning had with Dr. Palmero from the IU of the interest that Gateway could perhaps have, but also the steps that I kind of highlighted in green, step 1, 2, 3, and 4. Well, maybe if you want to just hit this side of the lights. Yeah, that works perfect, thank you. So our board would be able to see this. We will post this information online as well. So again, we are in the infant stages of discussing this. Again, for our community, it would have no impact until early in 2024. Again, we still plan on moving into Gateway Middle School August, September of '23, but we would also allow a good 6-month buffer in case there are any issues with Mosside or Gateway Middle School being finished, but also if there are any repairs that need to happen here prior to any move with Sunrise or other options that I'll bring up in a minute. Did I miss anything? Or, yeah. So you see the outline of the property. Bob, to my knowledge, I believe it's a pretty flat parcel.
It is. Yeah, it's one level, the ground outside is all level, no hillsides. It's actually a nice piece of property,
Yeah.
short of the problems they have with the building right now.
So again, early conversation also included that if things would progress and perhaps Gateway would take over Sunrise and operate on campus here at this building, the idea of potentially selling that property. And again, just one superintendent, just one, indicated that he would be in approval of the proceeds from that sale, helping out with this building, ADA.
To renovate
Yes.
their needs.
Yeah, exactly. Whether or not that's heating, air, anything else that's needed.
Who owns Sunrise now?
All of the school
All of
districts,
them.
yes.
Here's 8.
So
We have
collectively,
the
you all
biggest stake,
bought a
right.
building?
Yes, and I'm talking 60s.
Yeah,
when this
no.
out- Yeah,
So collectively, 9 school
Yes.
districts came together, said, we're gonna buy $1 million building and split it.
specialized education for students. It truly is a wonderful
It is.
opportunity for children to go there to be educated.
So this is a school for children with special needs or that need a higher level of care in a learning environment that can't be met in a typical school, not for behavioral students.
Correct. Specially designed school affords unique and special assets to the students and staff. So it is not a building that would be for alternative education, disruptive youth. Yeah,
Yeah.
it would not be.
Okay.
So that would be one option. Option 2, and we had this conversation about perhaps the community would be looking for, or the district would be looking for a pre-K program that our students would be able to come in. We could perhaps pilot a small group, and talking to Dr. Rossi, I think he said 20 to 30 students perhaps, looking at a pre-K program to see if there would be interest in our communities to attract those students, get them into our district early on, keep them there, and help prepare them for kindergarten, grades 1, 2, 3, 4. So again, just another idea. We're planting seeds at this point. We're still a year plus out, but again, it goes quickly.
Takes time.
It goes quickly.
Because actually, the size of the building there, you but potentially be able to do both.
Absolutely.
How many classrooms are in the Sunrise School?
There's 132 students, that's max.
Yeah.
So it depends, they have the basics. Well, this is, I can tell you.
132 students, and what does Mosside Middle School hold?
1,500, 12 to 1,500.
We're about, what, 1,100
Yeah.
today?
So we've had as many as 1,500 in this building.
Okay.
A lot of kids.
Potential for
We
other.
already have the basic needs, the cafeteria, the gym, the classrooms, the restrooms, the kitchen. It's already
Everything is
in place.
here. Now, again, there are certain aspects of this building that potentially, renovation needs to happen, whether or not that's, boilers,
Yeah, we'd have to see.
some other.
But it's 2 levels, so my question would wonder, would you try, if you do the preschool, try to keep that on the lower level?
Upstairs,
Really?
because
Because of the
Sunrise
other students'
disabilities.
abilities or disabilities or needs, from the Sunrise kids. They're better off on the first floor.
Okay, I can get it.
And then the third option would be perhaps an alternative educational program here for our students at Gateway. Meaning if we have some students who are in need of some social, emotional learning issues, and they want to take advantage of a smaller classroom setting, we're able to provide that structure here on campus instead of utilizing some of our other options, such as Adelphi and some other schools.
Yeah, it's
So-
large enough to do all that.
Yeah, it is a large building, again, on our campus.
I was going to say, we can probably build a wall instead of a gate in between 2 parts of the school for that.
You could separate it.
It's separated, absolutely.
Yeah, you just have to look at PDE or the requirements for egress, that's all.
Yeah.
So again, a number of ideas out there to not have just a building idle. And we know for reimbursement purposes, it's positive to have a building open and maintained with students.
We still receive reimbursements on this building?
Yeah.
At this point, yeah, if it closes for 2 months or 3 months, we lose that.
Yeah.
How do kids qualify for Sunrise? How does that work?
Referrals from the,
Typical referral basis.
And ages from K to 12?
21.
21.
Okay,
And
21.
then they have an extension program because of the COVID that they can stay.
What's the ratio? The average ratio per classroom?
I think there's 8 in each class.
8.
How many?
8.
It varies with the needs of the student or. yeah.
Right, that's why I said like the average.
So,
They have a waiting list.
yeah.
So, I mean, the program is phenomenal, and that's why this has been like a really tough situation with the IU because they put so much into it, but the building is becoming very costly. And we talk about our kitchens and, things that needs to be done, and everything is starting to really deteriorate. So with the roof, we have to make a decision whether we're gonna get that fixed and
And as always, if any board member wants to go over and actually do a tour, I mean, we can accommodate that as well. Just so you have an idea of some of
I
the
think I've been there, but where
infrastructure.
is this the one on Northern Pike?
No,
what's that on Northern
Right
Pike?
out on 22, like
Where Levin's
Spitzer,
is on
Spitzer
22.
Toyota.
I know Spitzer.
You go past that, Spitzer's on the right, and you hit the next light and go up the hill a little bit.
Left on
Okay,
Elliott
that's
Road.
where you turn to Giant Eagle to go, I mean,
No,
not
no.
Giant Eagle, but,
Sheets,
The
there's
new
a sheets area,
sheets.
yeah.
yeah, oh, okay.
Left on
Oh,
Elliott
okay.
Road.
No, that was Spectrum, I think I visited, that's on Northern Pike.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's not far from University Park.
Okay. All right.
So we would literally just house the program and the way it's set up with you as the 9 school districts would remain that way. We are not taking over anything from the IU, we're not we are
Essentially,
literally just moving the
the
program.
building, yeah, the
Okay.
building would be right here. It would operate in the same fashion. Again, down the road, we can discuss if we're going to move in this direction. You know, the educational value for our district being the home for the program.
But right now, the school districts will still be responsible for busing their own students. We're not taking on any additional responsibility as Gateway.
Correct.
Yeah, absolutely not.
Okay.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
That sounds like a really, I know, and how many years have you had the roof replaced, you guys, all the school districts over at Sunrise, and there's been a consistent problem with that.
Correct.
And they're not doing the warranty, and that has also
They
cost,
defaulted, pretty much.
and that has also cost each school district litigation fees. In addition to everybody paying for a roof.
Correct.
And then what's lingering is the $8-9 million to do the other improvements, windows, classrooms.
The thing right now is that we settled the lawsuit with the roof, but we only received $600,000. The roof is going to cost us $1.2 million to fix. And talking to Bob, they want to put the same material, do the same exact thing to fix it than what we had. I'm uncomfortable with that because it didn't
Yeah, what's the point?
work the first time.
Well, and how much damage did the building sustain from the roof?
There's definitely considerable damage, and probably, I could only see what was visible, and a lot of it was hidden, but what I saw walking through it with the other peers from the other districts, we all know there was mold. There was black mold there, even though they said, oh, it was tested. Nonsense.
Not if it was wet for how long and in between.
You know, I mean, we do this for a
walls.
living, me and
Right.
all those other guys. We're like, yeah, there's mold there, there's mold here, and if it's there, it's also in those areas you can't get to.
So you
or
had
see.
you saw visibly?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
So
We
right
went
now,
through there for probably half a day, the group of us, they're all facility directors from the different schools. They've been around a while. We all know what we're seeing, you know. And that's the problem. It's not just what you're seeing, it's all the hidden stuff and mold mitigation. You know how it is when they did Cleveland Stewart. It was closed for 2 years and I don't know how many millions of dollars to clean it up.
Because of mold?
Yes.
Black mold, yeah.
so right now, Bob and Val and Bill, what you're telling me is there's 130 students in a building with a bad roof and black mold that have special needs that range from everything that we couldn't even possibly imagine. You have millions of dollars worth of repairs, 9 school districts all struggling monetarily, and we're gonna have an empty building?
Well, that's why,
And again, this,
Kind of a no-brainer.
Right, that's like,
and we gotta be careful about, there's no risk to the students over there now. Everything is contained.
Yeah.
right, yeah, okay, I understand, but it's going to need repaired.
It won't fix itself.
and as Dr. Short said, we've had 2 schools pull out already. So, you know, we don't know what it's going to look like down the road. if
And there's a
any more-
wait list for
Correct,
kids that are in need.
correct. So that's why, you know, I brought this up and I'm sort of pushing, you know, for this to happen. So we do have to take steps if this is going to occur because,
And I've kind of outlined those steps on that sheet there in green. So we'll continue this conversation. Again, we're over a year away from
right.
anything happening, yeah.
Kids, is it based on just the number of available space that they have there?
Correct.
So potentially, if it did move here, that could increase.
Correct. See, right now, they can only do 132 because there's 2 to 3 classrooms that are not being able to be used.
And I was in those.
Correct. So they could get more kids, but right now, we're at maxed at 132.
So what happens in this school district, in Gateway, because obviously we can't speak to others, if we have a kiddo on that list, how do school districts generally accommodate if they can't get into one of those specialized schools?
There are other alternative schools.
So that they could be bused further away from their home, okay. I wasn't really trying to put you on the spot, like, hey, what are you doing with our students? But like, I'm literally asking, like, what do school districts do in that situation if,
Awesome.
And we've even had some parents who maybe requested to perhaps see sunrise and go over there with their child and determine that's not the best placement for them. So there's options.
Bob and Mike, could I ask you guys a Monroeville, Pitcairn business type question? That is, properties around our areas right now for someone who might want to purchase the Sunrise building and do something much different, like build plastics or tires or whatever somebody would do. Would such an organization be able to easily find any other empty building and just repurpose that? Or would this be a prime place where somebody could come in and say, listen, we don't need 1 level, we need 2. So they would take the roof off, put 2 levels on, and they would be up and running to build their left-handed widgets or whatever it is. So is this an attractive place for some commercial organization to come in and repurpose it, tear it down and rebuild it?
It's zone school.
It's zoned.
Oh, it's not zone
It's in
commercial?
a residential area.
Residential.
So there's a lot of limitations to what you're suggesting, depending on what it is.
And again, the building's not for sale at this point.
I'm just saying.
But if
As
you
we're trying to
would,
figure out how best to inch forward on this, there are so many alternatives out there. Could rezoning it and, offering it to the
it's
commercial.
got a nice piece of property with it, it's flat, it's quiet, but it is residential, so that comes into play. It would all depend on the cost. Because Monroeville, we have a lot of areas and buildings available between Pitcairn, Monroeville, not just residential, but a lot of commercial spaces, so
That are also
it's
available.
not like, you better grab it because there are no more.
That's
So
my
there is inventory out there for people looking for something like that. $1 million for that, to be honest, is cheap, but they know that they have to redo a roof, which is gonna cost some money.
Again, assessed there, not necessarily.
Yeah, it's not necessarily the value.
Yeah.
So, but, I mean, it is a lesser cost because of the issues. So somebody that has the ability or the field that can handle that relatively cheaply, it's a heck of a deal. It's just what the Monroeville would zone it. And we know how that goes.
The flip side of it is, if we would try to, part with that property and nobody would buy it for the next 30 years, that would be an albatross around our necks that we couldn't somehow unload and we'd have to sort of pull it forward with us. On the other hand, if it was an attractive and some church or organization could come in and flip it quite quickly and do something and make 500,000 on it, they would know how to do that and they would want to do it, right?
Oh, I would think, it's.
Well, hopefully a non-profit don't buy them. Someone makes
Yeah.
apartments out and they
Somewhere
start
we
paying
can get
taxes.
cash.
They start paying
Those
taxes.
are all different questions.
And we have to understand as well that we have to ensure that that school does not become a charter.
Right.
Does not become a charter. Oh, yeah.
Such as
How do you do that? You stipulate that in the
in the agreement, yeah,
contract or something?
That it can't be sold to
Propel.
Propel or a hospital or, any nonprofit for
To
that.
take away from the district.
so the other school districts are aware that we're talking about this?
Yes.
Because obviously this isn't the first time this conversation came up, if you said,
No,
Allegheny Valley was looking and
They're
River.
also asking the same questions about all their properties, because they're all 40, 50, 60, 70 years old as well, with the same question in their bailiwick.
I've been on their board for 7 years now, and we've been moving along, and even like every other place around, we cannot find any type of like maintenance director, anything like that. So, this would eliminate some of the problems that we have too, so everything would be taken care of in-house. So at our meetings, we have been discussing it, and that's why I wanted to bring it out in the open, so we can, look forward and it can come out to the public. If anybody would have questions, that's what we do next.
Right, so Bill, how can we best engage the public? In other words, should we convene a leading of business people or parents, or should we set up some sort of a website that they could put their comments into that with a certain header? So how do we get feedback from the community?
Well, before we even take that step, on the second page of this, there are steps that I've highlighted in green. This is coming directly from the Allegheny Intermediate Unit and the director, Dr. Palermo. And this was an email to Mrs. Warning, and all of these steps would need to happen first.
So also, Val, has the discussion of the preschool idea been expressed other than with Gateway
No.
doing it? Okay.
This is the first time tonight
So for
for
those
all of
people,
these.
At home who are watching this, could we read the 3 or 4 steps out loud and just sort of summarize, read them? Could somebody do that? I haven't read it yet, so someone else who already has. So what are the 4 steps?
If the committee, the will of the committee, which would be the board, to explore this option, moving from Sunrise to Mosside Middle, I think we could proceed accordingly.
So the first step is to explore the alternatives.
Correct.
Very good.
Okay, the second step would be, let's see, to facilitate a building tour, to review, to understand the Gateway facility and its viability for repurposing as a special education
So
school.
let's key people over to actually ascertain the validity of all the proposal, the status. Okay.
They would come here, meaning the other sending districts in the AIU.
Correct. 3 would be preliminary review, suggest the facility is a viable option. All parties must next need to consider a more in-depth examination. Property management agency or special counsel would need to be engaged to facilitate the process. Apply for a special education plan revision notice through the Bureau of Special Education. And let's see, we would,
So step 3 would be to bring in the key players and have them firm up their vision as to what it would, what the return on investment and the cost would be for our next move, right?
correct. And then 4 would be to see who would retain ownership of the property, would be a lease or with the jointure, how that would work.
So that's bringing in the financial questions. Okay, good.
And step 5 is have an impact on the nature of the jointures agreement. Because we have an agreement which,
Is existing would have to be modified in order to have the Sunrise concept be relocated or
correct.
reinstituted somewhere. Okay. Those are good steps.
Okay, so
And then there's another step, a timeline would need to be imagined, so that's like another step that goes along with step 5.
So what do we need to do for them to start with step 1?
Well, we have a meeting next Thursday, the Sunrise Board, and we will discuss this and then vote on moving forward.
Okay, so we don't need to do anything. You,
Sunrise has to move forward to,
Sure.
okay, to do this,
And-
and that's where we would start to.
the board members, one from each sending district. Okay. And then after that meeting, Val will report out to us the findings and let us know what the next step is. Okay?
thank you for
Not a problem.
especially overseeing the most vulnerable of the vulnerable population.
Got it.
I've also included in our next bullet, and it's on page, I believe, 4, we have existing bids for the north entrance of the high school. Bob, I don't know if you want to review these or
Yes,
just.
the bids were for the exterior portion, which is all new concrete, handicap ramp, all the railings, and a canopy to go over it. So we put it out to public bid. The low bid was $277,000. I actually spoke with him today. There is, and I didn't get a chance to talk to you, and I think we got to look at it. The material that the architect spec'd is more expensive, that it could be done in aluminum for approximately a third less.
Wow.
So, and I told him, I said, you know, we were gonna be discussing this tonight. It's a nice looking entrance that they designed, but I think the canopy got to be too expensive because it's all steel. Cold rolled steel, which we've just talked about upstairs for quite a bit, so you've got a little bit of an education on the cost. And that affected this as well. But doing it in aluminum, we did it by Rankin, you know, on a winery, the same thing.
There's no integrity issue or?
No, it's structural aluminum. So I think we gotta look at that because the entrance should have a canopy. It should have the proper architectural design to say, this is the entrance. If we do it without a canopy, it's not gonna look that way.
Can I ask two questions?
Yes.
One, exactly, where is the entrance that you're
Where the
referring to?
carnival was,
Yeah,
Right there.
it goes in right there.
Okay,
So we have
and-
parking, we have lighting. It's not in an area where, we don't ask you to enter at the loading dock next to the dumpsters.
okay.
We've often referred to any meeting or entry into that rear of the high school, go to the loading dock where the dumpsters are.
Right.
I mean, what a way to announce, come to Gateway.
Yeah.
So this
You
entrance,
feel the necessity to invest this kind of money that would be a functional,
again,
Single most used entrance in the district.
think about that. And also, there is no handicap accessibility.
right, I know
So
that.
even for our colleague, Mr. Williams, when he arrives,
I have
Back
somebody
there.
to meet him.
You're right,
Let
right,
him in
right,
another
yeah, I know
entrance.
that, yeah,
to let him into the building.
yeah.
And that entrance is used for the baseball.
Yeah, the different
basketball
teams,
games, I
yeah.
mean,
Buddy.
Yeah, I've seen them go back
Yes.
And the
to.
LGI.
The LGI, the cafeteria, the
It's
library,
long
the press
overdue,
box, the
and-
auxiliary gym, esports, it's all right
Right
there.
there.
And normally after school hours.
It
Yes.
is all after school hours, other than the faculty entering that in because they park there.
And if Bob is able to, from what we heard today, perhaps adjust this number to a third
Yeah,
Of a cost.
277 to a third.
a
A
third of that.
third of
Possibly, we're up to-
canopy
yeah.
cost, so.
So no
Yeah, yeah.
canopy or
Well,
with canopy?
The canopy with,
Canopy.
yeah.
Okay.
I told him I would speak with him tomorrow. I think we have to look at that, to have the same look out of
Yeah,
aluminum
you want it to look
instead of
like an
galvanized.
entrance, yeah.
Were all 4 of those bids based on the cold roll steel?
Yes, that's what the architect spec, so they had to price it that way.
And you see the difference in the bids.
Yeah, 469.
$200,000 almost difference
Yeah.
from lowest to highest.
So Bob, could you just rehearse for me one more time the purposes of that entrance? Is it to load and unload crates of
No.
food and desks and printers?
It's load and unload people,
People, okay.
Mike,
In and out.
picture.
a well-lit,
So a canopy would be quite useful for
Yes.
protecting the people,
Yes.
pointing them to where, how they
Yes.
can get in and out.
Well, we saw
you saw the rendition?
Yeah.
There it is.
The
Now, what
rendering.
is this? This,
That's the back.
That's what it'll look like.
oh,
That's the rendition.
And the football field's to the right.
Can you go to the Google Earth image, Micah? Just to show
Okay,
the location of
so
where.
where we, okay, the side where the
Let's go right
Carnegie,
here.
Right
the
there.
Carnegie was, Carnival.
Zoom in.
There's no entrance or anything,
No.
everything was up, okay.
Okay, right there.
The loading dock.
You see in the left, Susan, where the loading dock is?
Yeah. I can.
Where the truck,
At 9 o'clock,
Yes.
the loading dock.
Here's our loading dock
That's where we walk in.
Okay.
6 o'clock.
Here is where this entrance
Oh,
would be.
okay, I got you.
And this is where our parking is. And the biggest thing is, a lot of folks don't see it because of the time. When all those athletic teams are being dropped off, the parents drop them off at the steps. And then they try to back up, there's other kids. It's very congested and very dangerous. Being there, it's traffic pattern. You turn here, you go around, you come back out. I'm surprised nobody's gotten bumped into back there. It's pretty crazy, you know, after school hours, all the way till 9 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
and that's where we've come in when we were having those meetings in the
All
LGI.
LGI meetings
I'm
were
kind of
there.
surprised we didn't have something more accessible, even, there might have been kids.
There's
Yes.
never been
I-
anything back there than
Yeah.
the,
Nobody's complained, but we know
The verbiage
you need
of-
to have it.
Yeah, but as
coming by the loading dock,
progress and things go
where
on.
the dumpsters are.
For 3 years trying to get this done.
Yeah, I can believe it because just moving
Maybe 4
forward,
now.
it just seemed,
Can we go with the middle of the road bid? Why is one so low and the other
Well,
one's
actually,
middle?
that gentleman, they did the Ramsey pull-off project.
Okay.
They were a very good
Lowest
contractor.
Responsible bidder.
Yes.
So when we,
Some of these guys, they come in and say, you know what? I'm not doing my due diligence, I'm just throwing a high number. If I get it, I win.
Right.
And you get that a lot in this. They think
Yeah.
school districts have
Asking.
deep pockets, is what people think. But Santa Maria did a very good job, on time, they did everything they should do as a contractor.
I mean, there is such a difference how low they are. It makes you wonder because the others.
No, they're actually, I thought they were all high.
yeah,
Okay.
You know, but the steel prices right now, they're killing us, we all know that.
Concrete, it's concrete, right?
Concrete went up,
I know.
what would that be, 50%?
From when?
Just in the last year,
Yeah.
year and a half. We used to give concrete at $110 a yard, now it's $170.
Yeah.
Well, Bob, could you, when you find out what they will pricing, could you let the board know?
Oh, absolutely. We have to look at, and then we gotta
Right.
talk about it legally. Do we have to rebid that, or do we have to?
Yeah, there's some
or
legal
can we
issues we
make
gotta
it,
look at,
you know,
yeah.
accept his low bid and then do an addendum to get the other product? You know, but that's something that, you know, Dice's office, what the legality of that is, how we do it versus rebidding the whole thing.
See, my concern is if we wait, you know, I'm just saying, you know,
Oh,
everything's
absolutely. I
going
think
up.
we should get that number
Right,
and
move.
go that route and worry about, oh, we changed it after the fact. I mean, this company is definitely the low qualified bidder.
we will examine the difference with aluminum.
Yeah.
Come back to the board and report out.
So not only are they the low qualified bidder, we've done them before.
Yes, we
They do a good job.
Absolutely.
The men are okay.
Yep.
Well, I shouldn't say men, huh?
Well, it is in this case,
The
but yes.
workers are well,
Yeah.
and they're respected, and they're able to work around the school, and.
Yep.
So
Okay.
we had not considered the aluminum until he brought it.
Right, because the architect chose the material, so we were stuck with that. You know, and he chose a cold rolled galvanized steel. Well, there's another issue with galvanized, that paint doesn't like to stick to galvanizing very well. And in time it comes off, it peels. That would eliminate that problem as well.
Michael, can you show us the entrance again, blueprint, the,
The rendition,
yeah, one that.
Yeah.
Val said she'll get you a slushie next time.
The top would be the aluminum.
all the structure, the
The whole
posts,
stuff.
the arches, right now, that's all custom made out of steel. And that would all be aluminum.
Okay.
And those windows are already there, right?
Yes.
What's the yellow?
That is just marking the yellow. The door is an existing door into, it was that area. That area behind that door now is a storage space for racks of chairs and big items that we need there. The railing is so I can swing it open and put them in there without causing, you know, for when we have to do something, so it's a swinging gate.
Oh, okay.
That's all. It just makes that storage room for us much more accessible.
And you don't bang off the railing.
That, and we move things like racks of chairs from building to building depending on need. So there are things that we would like to get in and out of there, but not on a daily basis. It's, you know, it's there. No need to tear out the door and block it up when it's already there.
And that's one wide door or two?
Double door.
Double door.
Double door.
So Don Hall, I know that you're on the Zoom meeting virtually, and I'd like to give you a chance to weigh in on this. This is one of the entrances. Bob Brown has said that it's used a whole lot. So sometimes the students come in before school, after school to do some sports-related stuff. Bob mentioned that it's difficult for buses to get in there, to make the turnaround, parents to drop off, pick up. Are there any sports-related concerns that you might have, or advice or recommendations that you could have with respect to upgrades to this part of the school?
Play football and see a white team.
I think it would be more like all those concerns are alleviated, because all the concerns that were discussed are ones that we have, you know, from day to day. It's an awkward drop-off pickup area right now. We don't have a lot of before school. You know, our before school athletes are typically like our swimmers. They're across the way in the sports complex. But after school, it's a constant flow of people in and out. And again, I think it's an awkward, you know, ingress, egress for vehicles. Putting the entrance where it is in the drawing and the rendering really alleviates that. It kind of follows the same path that our buses use when they drop off and pick up athletic teams over there by that area. And again, like was already mentioned, the loading dock is a functional space that, you know, is necessary, but is not a very attractive space for our visitors for games in the that might be being played inside the auxiliary gym, or people coming to a meeting in the LGI and so on. I think it doesn't put the best face on the district in that regard. So a short version of the long answer I just gave is, I think this is a great answer to any issues we've had with athletics or groups coming to Gateway.
So it's also wheelchair accessible, is that true, Bob? And then security, there's a way for people to check, you know, the students as they're entering or leaving the
Well,
building?
security would be,
That's,
you know,
yeah, that was my
security,
concern.
but that happens at any door, you're letting anybody in.
Very good, thanks, Don.
Are there any security concerns with that entrance?
No.
Actually, the one advantage that I see is the parking is right there.
Yeah, so you're
Come
not.
out of the loading dock, you might have to walk 50 yards to your car. If you're coming out there, the parking lot is right there and well lit.
Will it take away any parking spaces?
No.
Okay. Are you still going to use the loading dock for the,
Food service. Oh, yeah, you can't eliminate the loading dock, but that's,
We're eliminating trampling through the loading dock while passing the garbage cans.
yes.
why don't we just put a fence up around the garbage cans?
Then we have somewhere for somebody to hide.
This is true.
Yeah, yeah.
Did you read those reports?
Security.
Val? I know.
Okay, Micah, you want to go to the real quick video of our update of the softball and baseball field? Micah did a drone flyover.
He's getting good with that thing.
He was afraid it might have come down in traffic.
You want to pause it right there?
Deny everything.
Yeah, deny.
Deny.
You will actually see that they are in the process of putting down the stone base after they have already excavated the 8 to 12 inches of topsoil and grass. So you actually see the outfield wall, not physically there, but straight line, another straight line, and the right field area. So you actually see the formed baseball field itself. We are hopeful that turf should be arriving here within a couple days.
Ray Battistill from Shaw stopped in to see me today to confirm delivery and offloading, which is the installer's responsibility. It's going on the road Friday. They are unloading it Saturday and Sunday here while we have no traffic.
Yeah.
They're gonna unload it, stage it, and they're telling me by the end of next week and next weekend, they're planning on having turf on the baseball field. Obviously not complete, but you'll see it's gonna turn green. And, but they're moving forward very well. Palumbo's crew up there has been fantastic. If it rains like today, they switch gears and do something they can do in the rain. And that's how they are. They just been moving well. The township's been over inspecting everything they want to inspect. Engineers been here on site making sure everything's going in as designed.
How many tons of stone does that take? Please.
What is over in this area?
That's the softball
Okay,
field.
that's why I just wanted to make sure, so that
Turf
this
too?
is your baseball.
Oh, that whole area you see will be turf.
Right.
And we are being told by Shaw that will be the single largest piece of turf in the country. And
this
together, not like having 8 fields, they're all one continuous piece. When put together, it'll be the largest in the entire country.
I don't know a lot about turf, how
Yeah.
wear and tear weather-wise, what are the
It's meant to be
advantages?
It's meant to be there. It lasts, depending on usage, minimum 10 years. We're anticipating
Possibly
a
12
lot
to
further.
14 with,
And then the wear areas, they can take out and replace without doing the entire thing. And also, this project needed the whole base. Everything below the surface you never see. So if you replace turf later, you just have the turf costs, not all the other costs. Similar to what we did at the stadium last fall. That we replaced that turf, the base was already in. So we were able to tear it out and put it in 11 days.
So you had to tear all this out, you had to put the air piping and all that down, and then the stone, and then the turf, like, we had to literally start with.
Well, there's ditches up there that are 6 foot deep, 6 foot wide, completely around each field, filled with stone. There's hundreds of tons.
For the drainage.
I think there's 10,000 tons of stone. Oh, it's constant.
Stone.
Constant stone coming in.
By the time we're done with all these construction projects, we're gonna need new roads with the weight of all
That's
this.
the municipality.
How does drainage,
Unfortunately.
Not
how does
ours.
drainage work
but-
on turf,
Well, what it does is it goes down through the turf and it
Permeates it,
gathers
yeah.
in those ditches. There's a pipe in that ditch 3 foot from the bottom, so it holds the water just like a retention pond, and it slowly dissipates into the soil. When you get that 100-year rain, it comes up, that overflow would go into the storm system.
Okay.
So what we're doing here is keeping it on property. We don't anticipate any water ever going through those pipes into the storm system. And that's what the Turtle Creek Watershed Project is
Right,
about,
right.
keeping that on here instead of shoving it down the river.
Right.
It's like a turf French drain.
It's exactly what it is.
What it is, yeah.
Our
So
stadium,
amazing. Like,
and you
walk-
get that 100-year rain in 10 minutes, you're playing ball.
So we'll continue to update the board, as this is a quick-moving project.
It's, yeah,
Yeah, a couple of months will go fast.
The scoreboards?
yes, we're waiting on the engineer drawing so I can get the steel in the ground.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, I need that to file the permit.
And the new netting or wall champion, whatever.
That's already, you can see
The post,
the
yeah.
posts are already in. He's looking to have him work on the softball field towards the end of next week, start those posts. So that's already in place already. The netting has been ordered. You know, we're working.
Changed, or is it going to be the
lighting we
same?
did last
Yeah,
winter.
the
it's all
lighting.
brand
So
new.
it's going to be the
Brand new,
same,
yeah.
okay.
It's brand new last winter. All LED lights, just like the football fields.
Okay.
And the new dugouts?
These are the existing ones here. There'll be new ones over at the softball field because we had to relocate them.
Yeah.
And they were in the wrong.
Didn't we have to change some of the dugout things on the baseball field? Weren't they in a weird area or something?
That was a softball.
field. It's in a
Softball,
weird
okay.
area.
Okay. And
Yeah,
then,
baseball were fine, but we just painted them because we're not gonna be able to do that work in February and March. So we took advantage of the weather. We're getting them painted now, our guys. I just bought the material. We're putting new roofs on them. And we're putting a soffit inside so there's no wood exposed where the bees get up in there. So we have that. We're actually gonna be doing that next week because the weather's gonna be low 70s.
is there lighting needed or in that dugout? I
No,
have
you
never
wouldn't
played a
need
day of
lighting.
baseball in my life, so.
No, there's no light necessary.
Okay. If you do night, our lights are, okay.
Our lights are fantastic.
What did we do with the sound system?
We have that included. Maiko has that. He could probably tell you a little more. We're running the conduits as it's open to the right poles for all the wiring. And each field, not just that field, softball, baseball will have their own PA system. So they can announce their stuff separate from the other.
So we're not having a problem with things, you are not having a problem with things on back order. Everything is in your timeline, in your
It
head.
has been, I mean, we've been flying along,
Good.
you know.
What about bleachers? No, we didn't do anything with bleachers, did we?
No, what we're actually doing,
I mean, you
can
see
a new
the
pad.
bleachers we have
We
there.
added a bleacher pad. The other bleachers, we just had them pressure washed, and we'll probably have to clean them again in the spring. And we have one set of bleachers that we don't use sitting to the left of the tennis courts. Now it's tucked away. We're gonna move that up there,
Did we
so.
get new bleachers from when that windstorm ruined those other bleachers?
Rob Peter.
No, we had them down here, so we just moved them up.
Yeah, we had them by the football field
Oh, okay.
that we utilized.
Yeah,
So those bleachers are gone, those ruined,
Yes.
okay,
yeah, we got rid of them.
okay, alright.
So we're gonna have, you know, we're gonna add a set of bleachers that seats 150, 200 more than what we had now.
And hopefully, it looks like the weather's gonna cooperate this weekend and next week.
Yeah, as soon as that turf gets done and infill too, then that wall will go up.
Good.
And at that point, once it's ready, they can utilize that field, but the weather's not gonna be conducive. But springtime, there's not gonna be any issues at all,
Does
on
turf
our
have
end
to
anyway.
Does turf have to settle or anything?
No.
No, I literally, I know that's a really dumb question, but.
No, it doesn't have to sit there and acclimate. I mean,
It's already like sewn together and like there's not
there's big
no
rolls that.
glue or anything.
Oh, there is glue, there's sewing and glue, but that's all taken into account. It's meant to be done in these temperatures.
Yeah, but it's not something you have to wait for to use once it's done. It's
Oh, no, we did that entire field. Now, you can imagine, that didn't come in one roll. It came in 30 rolls. That all had to be sewn together, all the logos cut out, and those get seamed and glued into place. So that was all done in 11 days.
No experience with turf, so I'm sorry if they were really dumb questions.
So, yeah, it's,
Are there logos in this turf?
we have a few, we have different things going on and on the sidelines, Gateway and Gators.
Oh, cool.
And the one nice thing about turf, when we get a sponsor outside of what we're doing now, it can be cut in at any time.
Yeah.
So it's not like we had to have it now. If we're Kentucky, AHN and sponsoring, and we want their logo, they'll make the logo, they come out, cut it in, ready to go.
Are they talking about doing that?
We've always had conversations with them,
Okay.
which leads me right into the next.
I was gonna ask.
Your favorite thing.
Before you move on. Concession stand.
It's
Same
there.
place?
It's not getting changed.
Okay.
What we are going to do over the winter, because we have heat in the bathrooms, we're going in there to get them painted. They're just block.
Right.
So they look dingy, but they're actually clean.
Right.
So we're gonna get them painted bright, make them look a little better.
Is that a full concession stand? Does it have like the
I think so.
electric and stove?
It does, it has some, it has coolers. It's not full blown like at the stadium. You know, it's more for
But it's
candies
very
and pops
sufficient
and
because
hot dogs.
You don't typically have.
A big crowd.
Or softball field, a concession stand.
So we got peanuts and Cracker Jacks at the baseball field. That's awesome.
I like that.
Couple of hot dogs.
Right?
Mary Beth and Don, we're about ready to move on to the fourth item, that's the district-wide update. Do you guys have any final questions or anything to add before we move on to the next topic? Very good, okay.
I do not. Thank you.
Micah, if you want to put up our next. Okay.
The jug handle?
I know,
All right, PennDOT
it's a trigger.
has shifted,
Exactly what it is.
PennDOT has shifted their philosophy on this roundabout.
Shocker.
Yes. So if everyone could follow me, as if you're on Haymaker, driving towards the campus. This is the existing jug handle right here, okay? Everyone sees that? In the green is now a new proposed stoplight, right here, coming off the jug handle. And then you would make the left and come across.
There's gonna be a light.
Okay, wait a minute, let me follow you here.
Right there.
And so
We're
they
coming
want,
from 22, or,
No,
Coming
Haymaker,
up the hill, coming up the hill.
Ramsey School.
Haymaker, you're going past the hospital on your right.
North American Martyrs.
the other way,
Yeah,
okay.
you're going past the hospital and then you have that little jug handle that you turn onto and then you sit right there and head across
Right,
to our
right.
campus. So the proposal now is to stop right there, make a left as if you're going on the jug handle again. The roundabout now becomes an exit for those individuals at the hospital only to join on the 48.
Why did they change it? Did they
The
say?
biggest change was, if you recall, as you were on Haymaker, you remember the old roundabout had you going through the light and jumping around. PennDOT said, nah, they don't like that. So now, if you're on 48, currently you're not allowed to make that left. Now they're going to have a left-hand turn.
Oh my goodness.
That's actually a bonus.
Yes.
That's a bonus. Nobody in PennDOT lives in Monroeville to know how much of a bonus that's not.
It's a bonus.
Well, right now, there is no left-hand turn, and people attempt
they
to turn
attempt
into
to
a
turn.
one-way street, and now they're a sitting duck in the middle of the intersection, and many accidents because there was no left-hand turn there.
Exactly.
I think adding a left-hand turn there is just atrocious. It's already a 19-way.
Yeah.
So again,
Well, they're also looking to add a lane too.
Yeah,
on there, I mean, it's just, they're widening the road. so.
Widening it a little bit.
Again, the ball is in PennDOT's court. They're examining this, and they will come back to us.
So let me see if I
down the
can just
road for how,
play this out.
this is down the road, how long?
Oh, I mean, they haven't even.
They've been working on this for a number of years.
5 years.
Okay.
All right, so guys,
kind of tend to trust PennDOT's decision on this one. This is Mary Beth, if you didn't know I was on.
all right, so these little green things right here are cars and parking spots. So if you're coming from Pitcairn up to this major intersection and you're supposed to go around, you could probably fit, I would say, 20, 25 cars.
Mr. Ritter, you will not be going that way.
I'm just saying, this is what I was thinking before. So if you have more than 25 people, for some reason, coming up from the Pitcairn area, more than 25, let's say 50, there's a big event and the circus or whatever is closing, you have 50 people coming through. So now you've got 20 lined up around the curve here, and then 25 more stuck in the intersection, not knowing whether they're gonna be able to finish up, get through, and go in here. So there's a tangle that's inherent with that, roundabout approach coming up this way. So what you're saying, the upgrade now from PennDOT is to come up here, try to fit, 25 or 50 cars in here to try
Wrong
to get
road,
around.
John.
Wrong road?
Yeah, 48 comes up, you still can make a left into Gateway Campus.
That's Haymaker.
You're on Haymaker.
That's 48.
Yeah, you can turn left into our driveway from there.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you're
there's
not
still a
going
left-hand turn
around
there.
all that.
Yeah.
So the question I'm having is, when things are overwhelming, will we still, not put ourselves in a position where people get stuck in the intersection and cause accidents?
That's the goal of what they're trying to do.
We also have the ambulances coming through 2, 3, 5, 10 a day or something like that, and they have to shut everything down in order to get those vehicles through pretty quickly.
Oh, yeah.
We don't want people stuck in the intersection there, blocking the ambulance. This is a tough intersection to
Very.
think through.
That's why PennDOT's doing it.
Yeah, I
We're
think
just
adding another turn,
waiting
I think,
to
makes it
see.
more confusing
Well, we have
than-
school buses too that have to find a way to get through at tough times during the day.
That's a major thing, the school buses.
With a hospital.
Well,
So, again,
Proposed red light for, are they making another entrance to AHN in addition to that top entrance and the original entrance? Like, I don't understand the proposed red light in the middle of that.
They're saying there's shifts every
you'll come to a T and you can make a right.
48, isn't it?
So there's gonna be another entrance into AHN, that's the point of that red light.
Yes.
So they're gonna have. one
And
at the
again, if you're
top
making
there.
a left off of 48,
Yeah, we can,
you'll be going past that T there. Does that make sense?
so they're not putting the entrance at the roundabout, they're putting the entrance down at the bottom of that jug handle.
So they're eliminating the left at 48?
No, it's still there.
No,
Still
it's,
be there.
The left, you currently can't make a left there.
Right, you
Yeah.
can, yes.
No, you can't.
you're coming
up the hill.
From, okay, I'm coming from Pitcairn
Yes.
on 48.
Continue to make the left onto our campus.
Yes.
Right.
I agree.
Left,
But-
okay.
If you're coming past our fields on the right,
From Route
Coming
22.
the opposite
Coming from
way.
22.
yes, you're not allowed now to make the left into where Forbes is.
Okay,
Yeah, you have to
What
go.
they're saying now is you'll be allowed to make that left.
okay.
We should just ask to turf the whole thing. No roads.
When do they foresee starting this? Did they say?
No time.
So it could change again.
2030.
And I would expect it.
changed from two
Yeah.
other renditions to this already.
Yeah, this is difficult.
We didn't like the first one. The second
It is a difficult
It is.
roadway.
I guess the other question we would have is, what are Allegheny Health Network's plans with all of their facilities back there? Do they have room for 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 more buildings, which would bring a lot more traffic in over the next 20 years? Or are they pretty well saturated with their parking lots and buildings?
I think they can put a whole bunch more in.
They were doing, there was a few plans that Dr. Rubino explained to us. Again, no real time
Yeah, there's
frame
no
yet.
timeline on it.
They took the walkway out?
Not yet.
Okay.
There's still discussions about that.
Is the BSA still gonna plant their flowers there every year?
One other question before you finish this.
He's running for it, man, he's like nothing.
Anything else going on with the fencing at Ramsey? You were talking about like the gates to get out at Evergreen and CSC. Have we done,
The panic hardware for the schools that have fencing, Evergreen, Cleveland, Stewart, that's been ordered.
okay,
Yeah, I ordered that the next day once, the pricing wasn't terrible, so we got it, we ordered them. So even though we haven't had the state police reports yet from them, that's just one of the concerns, so we were able to get that ball rolling.
okay.
At
And you,
this point, we still haven't gotten to any fencing at Ramsey yet.
okay,
Again, it's in council's hands.
I was gonna say, you sent it over, right? I read something.
Oh, yeah.
you had mentioned fencing at the end, coming up the walkway from Ramsey.
Yes, just a piece of fence to keep the walkers during the day from coming up there. And an emergency panic hardware, if there had to be a quick exit out there from the inside.
That has been ordered?
That has not, because we're measuring and just nailing that down.
Okay,
And then, because Ramsey was, a hot spot to see, that'll come for approval, like, is this really what you want to do? And we'll show it to you, with the cost. The cost wasn't outrageous at all, but it's, if that's what you guys want to do.
all right.
Anything else?
That's it.
I took some notes, I'll give them to Val, Val, you can distribute them.
Thank you, everyone.
Motion to adjourn.
Got a lot of information tonight.
Second.
Thanks.